Today on Local Catch.
Gobble, gobble.
There's one right there. Oh, he just come off.
Apparently the fish, the two wasn't enough. He wants to eat a camera too. Acrobat.
Look at that,
Back-to-back cast.
Look at that, mine's bigger.
These are getting aggressive. This is like combat fishing going on right here. Hi, welcome to Local Catch on BCSN. I'm Ross Robertson, and I'm a walleye guy. I'm from Toledo, but we decided to call in the big guns today. I'm with my longtime friend, Brian Plensler, who's kind of a bass guru. So we're up here on Lake St Clair. We're gonna try to catch some big monster smallies. We're gonna throw some drop shots. We're gonna throw some tubes. We're gonna throw a crank here, hopefully very shortly. But Brian, tell us a little bit what we're gonna do.
This fish are getting in the fall pattern now, and they're feeding up for the winter time, and they're kind of bunched up. So hopefully we can get on a nice little school here. I've been catching them for about the last month or so. Quite a few numbers of fish and big fish both. So I don't know about you, but I'm ready to go.
Let's quit talking. Let's fish.
We're throwing C-Flash 22 Magnum crankbaits on a little shallow bar here, and it's kind of a little feeding area in the morning where they're chasing a bunch of minnows and use kind of a little break that they're pushing. I think they're pushing the bait up on that break.
Toss it out and crank it.
This is fun fishing here when you can catch them like this. First fish in the morning. Ooh, it's fighting like a good one too.
Is that on the crank?
On a crankbait, he smoked it.
He's coming all the way around the boat, man. This must be a good one.
Oh, he's not that good. I think he's hooked on the side of the head. But it's a good start. That means there's fish here.
That didn't take long, Brian.
No.
I guess I lost $1 for first fish, right? First cast right out of the gate.
You're gonna lose more than $1 today. Got one? Another little guy.
It's a little guy, but we'll
little
take
guys are on this morning.
Brian, you got to start small before you can go big.
I just go big. Go big or go home, right? Isn't that your motto?
It is. You know, we're out here in St. Clair, and we're throwing cranks. You know, really this pattern will work year round, but right now in the fall, it's kind of the go-to deal. Just because you can cover a lot more water, you can bring fish off the bottom. We're throwing this little C-Flash. You know, we got a nice little smallie to start. They're gonna get way bigger, we hope. But like Brian was saying, I mean, just covering the fly, right?
Yep.
Covering more water. You know, Brian, we fish Lake Erie a lot, and it's almost like apples and oranges when you come up here to Lake St. Clair. It's kind of different equipment. Same type fishing, but not really. I mean,
yeah, not really. Actually, not really different equipment. They catch a lot of smallmouth on Lake Erie now, cranking too, just like we're doing. Just different times of the year.
That DT6 though.
Actually, you can in the fall when they get up shallow in the fall on Erie, just like they do up here on St. Clair. The big difference with Erie is there's a lot more rock than there is up here. There's quite a bit of rock on Lake St. Clair still, but Erie's predominantly it's got a lot more rock. Not as many weeds. Lake St. Clair's got a lot more weeds and sandbars and stuff than Lake Erie has.
I mean, right off the bat, you got to say the biggest thing is the depth.
Yeah.
I mean, we're average depth up here of, let's say, what?
Well,
12 feet compared to
the Lake St. Clair at its deepest point in the main body of the lake, not counting the shipping channels or the river itself, is not much more than 20 feet. So.
And most of it, like we're in less than 10 right now.
Most of it's quite a bit shallower.
Yeah, we're Erie. Generally, we're fishing those fish a little bit deeper.
Yep.
Especially the quality fish a lot of the year. Got one? Get him, Daddy.
Oh, he come back and got it. Look at that.
Nice.
He stopped it. He came back and got it.
That's, you know, just what we were talking about. It's not too many times that actually works out like that. It's a good one. Oh, he got another tanker.
Nice solid fish. Oops. Look at that. He bent my crankbait hook all up. I mean, bent that thing hard.
You know, that's another good.
You got one?
I was gonna tell you something, but we're gonna just land this one first. This thing smoked it, man. Got it. Oh yeah.
Is it a big one?
It's a little bit bigger one.
Dark one there.
Oh, look at that. Ooh. This one is a little upset. I don't think they know we're gonna let them go. Just freaking railed that DT6. You know, one thing you can do too here when you got all these crankbaits is if you just belly hook them like that or land them, avoid getting that crankbait in your hand. Because these treble hooks, I promise you, me and Brian swap out a lot of our hooks with those little hooks. Like, you notice Brian has to bend those hooks back in, and you know, it's something we'll put up with because those Gamakatsus are really a thin wire hook, and they really get a lot better penetration, especially when you're using pretty soft stuff like we are. So that's a better one.
Can't tell. Hope he is. Fighting pretty hard.
Are you gonna need my lipping
Oh,
assistant?
oh, dude, there's one with him. There's one with him. There's one with him. This is a nice one here.
I'm even gonna get the net out for you, and I don't even like you that much. This is like pandem. Oh, tanker. Wowzers. I don't even like you. I'm gonna net this because it's so big.
That's a nice one there, boy. That's what we came out here for, right there.
Why did we get up so early and drive all the way up here?
Hopefully
Tanker.
not to get a hook in my hand.
Wow. Truckzilla.
This is what we come up here for, right here, boys. There's one right there, right at the boat. Oh, look at that. This is my favorite, absolutely 100% no doubt my favorite way to fish. They just...
It's idiot fishing almost once you
It's
get
so
on
much
it.
fun. I mean, they hit it so hard.
But the only thing, Brian, is, you know, as easy as you make this look, you got to tell them, I mean, how many hours do we spend doing this, dialing the area in, right?
That's a chunker there. Yeah, it's once you get on them, once you find them, you can really catch them. But
oh,
you got one right away.
Oh, boil, I lost him.
Did he?
Oh, as soon as I hit the water.
That's another solid chunk.
Way out there, man, about 50 yards straight out. Boiled right on me and lost a tank. That was a heartbreaker.
I'm marking all kinds of, look at all the bait. Oh, there's one right there. Oh, you missed it.
They're just starting to slap at it.
I'm marking all kinds of fish down here.
When you're marking them in this shallow water, you know there's a chunk. You know, no different than my walleye tackle. You really match all your tackle, don't you? All your equipment. It's got to be pretty specific in order to keep these fish on.
Yeah, I'm kind of a techie guy when it comes to tackle.
Let's be honest, you're not techie. You're obsessive.
I'm a little obsessive, I'll admit. You know,
we're using a crankbait rod to throw a crankbait.
Yeah.
We're not using a tube rod and saying, let's just put a crankbait on it, because that just doesn't work for casting distance. It doesn't work for fighting the fish.
Yeah, I mean, in order to land the most fish and put all the odds in your favor, you got to be using the right tackle. So we're using rods that are fairly limber. You need a limber rod like that when you're throwing a crankbait, because as you see that last fish I caught jumped and jumped and jumped, and that rod's going to give. If you had a stiff rod, you'd pull them hooks right out of the fish's mouth. So you need to use the right equipment.
And we're throwing fluorocarbon.
Fluorocarbon line. I think it just gives you a better feel. It'll get your bait down a little bit deeper because it sinks.
Doesn't float like mono. All those little things you put together and you realize
it's got less stretch too, so you know when you do make a long cast and you get one to hit right there at the end of your long cast, you know, you take that stretch out, some of that stretch out of that line, so you get a better hook into them.
And the big thing too is you look at these crankbaits that we're throwing. I mean, that's a small little sucker right there, and if you notice, I mean, we can really chunk these things out a mile, and that's really important, not only for getting down to the right depth, but just getting away from the boat. Like I just missed one, the fish boiled way out there. I mean, you can't cast 10 feet from the boat and catch as many fish as if you can get out there. As we head back up spot, I'm going to tell you about one thing that's super important to do when you're crankbait fishing, and that's making sure that your bait is tuned. Certain baits like this Rapala DT don't really need to be tuned as often, but you know, you catch them on some junk, you bend them a little bit with some fish, And it's really, really simple to get that back in. Essentially what you're gonna do is if this bait is riding this way, you take a pair of pliers and you gently, I mean when I say gently, I'm talking if you know that you bent the bait, you did it too much, you just turn to the opposite side that the crankbait is running. So when it's running this way, you just gently put the pliers on the actual eye, not the split ring, but the eye itself, and bend away from the way that it's running. And like I said, something you may want to do 2 or 3 times instead of once hard, just incrementally. You don't want to loosen that thing up and just takes just a touch. So once you do that, that bait being tuned, it won't be rolling. It'll make an enormous difference. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest things with crankbaits. You can have the best one in the world. If it's not tuned, it ain't gonna catch them. You know, in the middle of the summer when I'm fishing walleyes and you're still chasing these smallies, how does this pattern change as far as during the day, or I mean, because you may not be fishing this exact spot, but just what do you look for to be different?
Well, I like out here we catch them really deep. Not I say really deep, but deeper than we're fishing right now. We're throwing crankbaits again, but we're fishing that 10 to 12 to 18, 17, 18 foot of water, and we're just throwing a bigger, deeper crankbait. It's pretty simple fishing, but like you know, you just got to, like you said, you just got to cover a lot of water, and you'll find a lot of them. And when you do, I mean, you'll run in, you'll know when you find them because they'll come quick, just like they are today.
But you say it's easy. You mean it's easy once you do it?
It's easy.
It's all about preparation.
A lot of the tournaments have been won up here in the last couple of years, crankbait fishing, and a lot of guys will go out and try to throw crankbaits and they'll throw them for a half hour and they won't catch fish on them and they'll put them away. And you got to get that confidence to throw that thing all day long. I have so much confidence in a crankbait that, I mean, I could literally come out here and throw it.
Fish for 5 bites.
Fish for 5 bites and to know that they're going to weigh, 19, 20 pounds or better. So it's just having that mindset. There's one right there at the boat. Look at that. He hit me right at the trolling motor.
That's another good one.
Another chunker there.
Nice.
Look how light that fish is.
Some of these things are coming right at the boat.
They're hitting it right at the boat, yep. They're hitting it right at the boat, and they're hitting it a lot when you just,
right when you're
try
out there.
pausing it, try just twitching it one time, or maybe reel your reel handle like a couple turns faster, and that just triggers them. Look at that, there's some more stuff on the bottom there.
Thought I didn't have the case on for a second.
Good one.
Got one?
He absolutely not slacking it. He hit it so hard.
He's a pusher.
He's
Pushers are always...
Pushes! Here we go! They're right in front of you, Big Daddy. As soon as I put that sea flash on, like 2 casts later, boom, bada bing.
Yeah.
Hit that thing.
I'm telling you, that bait is dynamite.
This thing's, it's a pretty good fish, but he just really thinks he's a gorilla.
You notice we're catching all sizes of fish, and that is a really good sign because it means it's a real healthy fishery. They're not missing any of your classes. So this place is just unbelievable, the number of fish that it has in it.
Minnows walking right out there. These fish are... Oh.
We'll come back and get it.
You were right. Fish on. Wow. We saw that Brian yelled, hey, right over there, there's some minnows breaking. We threw in there and there's this little pot of these fish. This is where that long soft rod really comes into play. I'll tell you what, choosing the right equipment means a big difference between not only fishing the boat, but just flat out feeling them. And Brian, most of us guys on the Great Lakes are using longer rods. This one's 7'8", this Dobbins Techniques.
Yeah, I like longer fishing rods. There's a lot of advantages to it, especially on the Great Lakes when you're fishing deeper water. A long spinning rod, I'd say 7 foot, on up to 7.5 or longer, 7'8" in this case, you can get a lot farther casts. Which is key in clear water when you're trying to get the bait as far away from the boat. On the flip side too, when you go to set the hook, that longer rod's going to take up a lot more line. So if you do get a fish at the end of that long cast, it's going to allow you to get that hook, drive that hook home. Same thing with deep water. You got to move a lot of line to get the hook set in that deep water. So the action plays a big role too. There's two schools of thought. A lot of guys like a heavier action rod, but I would say the overwhelming majority would prefer more of a medium action. This particular one here is a medium power, and it's got more of a moderate action to it. So when you get that fish by the boat and he's bulldogging, first thing the smallmouth want to do is they want to go straight down underneath the boat. That rod's going to flex, and it's like going to give you a lot more forgiveness. And if you have a bad spot in your line, you're not going to break the fish off. If he comes in too hot and he wants to dive, he's just not going to break you off. So, long story short, you don't want a pool cue and you don't want a buggy whip. You don't want a buggy, yeah. There's
something that's got a good amount of flex.
Yep.
Just what he's talking about. Now, also, Brian, a lot of your stuff too, aren't you using some graphite rods for your shallower cranking, and then switch to a composite or a glass rod?
There's two schools of thought on that. I mean, I've always been a graphite rod guy. I love graphite rods for crankbaits. I think you can feel better with them. You can feel what the bait's doing. You can feel if there's grass on your bait. If there is, you can snap it, and the graphite's got more of a crisp action. It's gonna clear that bait a little bit better. But there's an argument for glass too. But the bottom line is there's a lot of good cranking rods on the market. There's a glass composite or a graphite. I prefer the graphite for those reasons.
And basically, with both these, we're using fluorocarbon line again for all the reasons we kind of discussed a little bit. But low stretch, high sensitivity, strong.
Yep, it's just the fluorocarbon sinks as well. So it's when you're trying to get an extra 6 inches or a foot depth out of a crankbait. That helps because it's that line's going to cut the water better and easier, and it's going to get you that little bit of extra depth on the crankbait.
You can actually control the depth literally. If we were trying to get real skinny, we may put 20 pounds on there.
Yeah, actually on this rod here, I had a 15-pound test, whereas I was running 10 on this rod. This is a little bit deeper diving bait, but I put 15 on it to get it shallower, so they were both running about the same size, the same depth. So there's a lot of things you can do with line size that'll affect what you're doing with your crankbait.
Long story short, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat when you're fishing, but just be careful to kind of put things together and be technique specific, and you're going to have a lot better landing percentage and a lot better hookups. Basically what happened, we've been throwing this crankbait all morning, as you saw, and now we're just slowing down with the tube, and we had a fish bust right behind the boat. It wouldn't touch the crankbait. He jumped on that tube. Brian had one of like your second cast or something. So we're just kind of slowing down. We're in the area, we know where they're at. The fish are becoming maybe a little more lethargic. The sun's coming up a little bit more. We've beat them up for the last little hour and a half. So just throwing something different at them. They've seen that crankbait rolling by their head about 50 times.
Or more.
Yeah, or more. So now we're just going to slow down and give them something a little different to look at and a little slower presentation. This tube jig just kind of looks like a crawfish or a minnow as it kind of circles and dives down.
Got one? There we go.
Dance, mama, dance. Switching to the tube. 1-2 punch.
See if he's got one
You
with
can
him.
see how soft this rod and how long it is. Gobble, gobble. Apparently the tube wasn't enough. He wants to eat a camera too.
I got one.
Ooh. Gobble, gobble. He took it. Cookie cutters. I'll even grab it for you.
You're gonna grab them for me?
I'll be so nice.
3-pounder at least.
Gobble, gobble.
Look at that.
Back-to-back cast.
Look at that. Mine's bigger. What do you know?
Here, let me unhook this real quick. There's deep.
Yeah. That fish got it good. It's a nice solid fish right there. One of
Another little
many.
spot on the spot, huh?
We got right up on the number again.
And there they are.
And there they are. I feel like we could sit here and catch them all day long. There's one.
Across your face.
That one's an acrobat.
Tossing in again. It's stretching your string, kid. Flip them.
Oh, flip them. Just another nice solid fish.
Is that in that little hard spot again?
Yeah. Yeah, I just came across, well, I felt a few little, felt like a little bit of gravel, and there's a nice little hard spot, and you found it too.
I found it. Acrobat! These are like Barnum and the Bailey fish right here, kid.
There's one. They're all clones.
Double up. Then we try to triple up. This is getting aggressive. This is like combat fishing going on right here.
They're all just chunky fish. I mean, they're fun. I mean, this is just a ton of fun. You know, come up here and.
This time of year, they'll start hitting some bigger baits too, won't they?
Yeah.
We're getting right at that point in time.
You got me.
You thought I was kidding when we said combat fishing. Well, we got up super early this morning, made the drive about an hour and a half up here to Lake St Clair, chasing some big smallmouth. I called my smallmouth guru buddy, Brian Flensler, and we said, let's go out and catch some big ones, and you pretty much put us on them.
Yeah, we caught quite a few fish today. It was a good day. Caught them doing a lot of different things, and
we did a 1-2 punch. We cranked them, we tubed them.
Just like we talked.
Yeah, I call them donkeys.
I call them slaunches.
But regardless of what you call them, this is what they are. Liquid gold. Big early fall smallmouth on tubes and crankbaits. Make a little drive up here to Lake St Clair or even on Lake Erie, and this is what you can do. So let's let these suckers go and we'll go head on in.